So basically, if you want to change that to the black one, then you need to order a black seat for it. Then it will be all black, and then you can put the red seat on the blaster.
If that's all black, I'm calling it the Batmobile. Well, all right, so it's Friday afternoon, end of March, and where I last left off, I could not get the ATV to fire, but today I do have some parts. We have a brand new carburetor. It is pouring rain out there today. So I'm gonna see if I can get under cover, bolt this thing in, not get too soaked, and we'll try and fire this thing. Before I do, let's see where some of these settings are coming from the factory. In particular, the setting is going to be the mixture screw. It should be 2 1/4 to 2.5 according to the manual. There's half in, 1 in. I'd say seated at just about 4 1/2. Twice the factory spec. Well, if we're gonna get this thing running in time to surprise Josh for his birthday, I gotta see it run. So we're going for it. Something else of note here, the nuts that come with the knockoff one are a bigger diameter than the originals, and they're too big to thread around the air boot. So we're using the old ones. As another point of interest, the replacement carb comes with a choke lever built onto it, and it interferes with the fuel lines. We can take this out and put our OEM choke control back in. But right now, we just want to see this thing start and run, so I'm tucking that out of the way. I don't even have the cover on the side here to give this a shot. So fuel line's hooked up. Fuel is flowing. Choke is on. Throttle action. There we go. That just choked all the air off. It pulled fuel up in here, you see that? So I put the cap on, cranked it, and it pulled fuel right up into the carb. So why won't it fire? Is there just a great big vacuum leak somewhere that I missed? Okay. It's another nice day. Alright, it's another nice day, taking a little bit of the afternoon, trying to get a final push on getting this ATV together. We're down to the wire trying to get this ready for a surprise for my brother-in-law. So now we are we're cranking, but we need to go through some troubleshooting steps, and I'm going to take some time to go through this. So back together, crank's fine. We have spark, we have carburation, we have compression, but it doesn't start, which sounds a little odd. So I'm going to pull the plug. We'll confirm our spark. We'll take the air box off the carburetor, and you kind of do a piece of plastic over it or just a rag over it. If you do a piece of plastic you can see through, excuse me, you'll see the carburation, so you know you're getting fuel. We can confirm that. When we do the compression test, and this is important, a compression tester will tell you, it tells you about the health of the motor. It can tell you have a problem if used correctly. It can't tell you where you have a problem. You use a leak down tester for that. So when we put a compression tester on here, we want to pay close attention to how high it jumps on that first revolution. You put the compression tester in on that first revolution. You want to pay attention to how high it jumps. Let's say it jumps right up to 60 psi, then on revolutions 2 and 3 it goes 60, 120, 140. That tells you something, because if you keep cranking, chances are you'll get that compression up, but it's not really a great test at that point, because you didn't jump up quick. If on that first revolution you jumped right up to 100 or 110, that'll tell you, pretty good health test of the motor. But if you just keep cranking 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times and you get to compression of 140, it doesn't, you could still have bad rings or other leakage just at that point in time. So to help with that, do a leak down test. Put the leak down tester on, which we'll do, and we'll put it to top dead center. We'll lock the drive shaft so it can't spin. And then we're going to turn the air on and we're going to listen. Do we get leakage around the valves either side? Do we get leakage? We shouldn't get leakage out the intake of the exhaust, especially if we're at top dead center. If we listen down where the breather hose is on this side and we hear air coming out there, we know we have leakage around the rings. We could have a broken ring, worn rings, a bad piston, a hole in the piston. If we hear air hiss out here around the intake valve, you might have a broken valve, a stuck intake valve. If you hear it on this side, same thing, exhaust valve, bad valve adjustment. You also want to make sure you're at top dead center, because if you are on the overlap stroke, remember both valves are open just a hair, and you get the hiss out of both of those. So like I was saying, the compression tester, if used correctly, can tell you have a problem. You use the leak down test to understand where that problem is so you can take an action. So I'm going to crank this, and it hasn't been starting, and then we're going to start working through the challenges. Once we confirm spark, we'll confirm carburation, we'll confirm compression, but we're going to be very particular about that compression test, because I believe I know where the issue is here, but I just want to step through, slow down, and do some real troubleshooting here so we can get this off and running. Alright, so let's start stepping through here. Key is on. I have the neutral indicator light is on. Switch is on. My choke is out. And my spark plug tight and plugged in. No fuel. Hang on. Let's pause. Let's get the tank on here. Here we go for the first test. Fuel is on. Tough to see, but there is fuel coming through the float here. And I'm going to go ahead and open this screw. See a little bit of fuel drip out. Confirm that in the carb. Up here, switch on. There we go, needed 2 hands. Neutral indicator light. So if we try and turn this over, and right now this is a brand new carb on here, I have the choke pulled out. We can convert this pull back to the OEM choke here, but for now, choke out, carburation. Let's hit the start button. Really what we're hearing, and I can smell some fuel spitting out there, but we're hearing a misfire, a little bit of a backfire. So let's go ahead and test the next step. So I'm going to crank it a little bit because I want to make sure that I'm going to find a nice and wet spark plug or flooded out system. you see nothing. So let's pull the plug. Now this is a brand new plug. I would have thought it'd be a little bit wetter, but we're not seeing any kind of burn. We're really not seeing combustion here. So what's happening? Let's go ahead and put our compression tester in. Actually, let's first check for spark. So we'll put this plug back in here. I'm just gonna brace it up against the metal. And I think you can see that there, but that was really great spark. So we have spark. You saw the puff of fuel mixture come out, so we know we're getting fuel into that cylinder there. We have fuel, so we have that carburation. We have spark. What do we have for compression? Now, what we want to watch when we crank is we want to watch how high it jumps on each of these revolutions. So I'm going to say on that first revolution, it jumped a little above 50, maybe 60, went to 80. That was probably 2 revolutions. Let's do this again, but you get an idea what we're watching for. So I think we jumped to 75, and then we went up to 110. I think we jumped to 50, then to 75. Let's go for, let's try this on 3 full revolutions. 1, 2, 3. At 3, 110, you're watching that jump. What I would have wanted to see with a healthy point in time check was this jump, really jump right up to 100 or so is what I'd like to see, even higher. And then on revolutions 2 and 3, bump up a little bit. Because I bet you if I keep cranking, I'll get this up even higher. So let's keep cranking. So 7 or 8 cranks, it shows a PSI of 125. That's kind of misleading. It tells me it can get up to it, which makes me think I should be able to fire maybe, but also indicates we've got another issue here. That one pump at 75. One pump at 75. One pump at 75. I'm going to put the leak down test on here because seeing that makes me believe that I am losing compression because I am building compression up over those successive revolutions. I've taken the timing cover off, the intake valve cover, so we can see that valve move. I've opened up our viewing port to look for top dead center. Now I'm just going to put my wrench on and start turning this motor in its correct direction of travel, which I'm on the left side of the ATV, so I'm rotating it forward here, say counterclockwise. And what I'm starting to watch is the valve. I'm going to watch the valve up here for movement. I want to see that valve open. Now also watch this mark here, because this mark will eventually line up here for top dead center, but there's 2 times it's going to line up. One is on the overlap stroke and one is on the compression stroke, and we want to make sure we're on the compression stroke. We will know we're on the compression stroke when this valve opens and closes. The next time we see the T come in here, we're on the compression stroke. And when we get top dead center here, our timing mark should line up with this spot here. At that point, we know our timing is on, top dead center here, and we know we're on the compression stroke because it's the next time we see the T show up after the intake valve opens. And you can't feel it, but as I crank it, we should feel that compression build. There goes the valve opening. Watch that timing mark. Valve has closed, so we're now on the compression stroke. If the timing is correct, my mark is perfectly lined up. I should see the T, and look at that. We are just past the F for forward. There's our T. Right on it. Right on it. Valve is closed. We're on the compression stroke. Let's lock this, because when we put the leak down tester to it, we don't want the piston to spin. Okay, to lock it, I have a pair of vice grips. I've got a grip there, and I just have a second quick grip I can get between the peg and the vice grip. So just like that, all kinds of ways to do this, but I've just locked it from spinning because I've locked the bolt here that is, you know, on the stator side of the cover. Make sure this wire stays out of the way. So now I'm going to go back to the other side and we're going to set up that leak down test, and we're going to start listening for where the leak may be. So I'm using an OTC leakage tester, 2 gauges. So on the right, excuse me, the left-hand side, I'm hooking up to my cylinder. On the other side, excuse me, my left-hand side here, I'm going to hook up my air tank. And I have my tank regulated at 100. I'm going to connect up to the other side here. And let's see here. Don't need to adjust to 0 or anything. On this one, I'm already at 0. So now I've popped this lever out, start turning it in, which is to say I'm going to start turning on air. There it goes. Watching both of these, and what we're going to find is the difference between the pressure coming out of the air tank and the pressure in the cylinder. That difference is how much leak down we have. So at 10 psi, which again, we got to go much higher for this test. 10 psi, going up to 20. And even at 20, there's a lot of leak happening. We got to get up to some real pressure here. At 40, I'm showing 33. At 60, I'm showing 50. I can hear the hiss and the leaking. 70. I'm going to go to 75. At 75, I'm going to go 65 on the pressure. Now I'm going to come back down. I have a chart in here. On this chart, we went to 75 psi on the left-hand side, and the right-hand side was reading 65. So percentage of leak, we have 13% leak down. Yeah, that's not great. Healthy motor, I would like to see between 5 and 10. And even, so within here, I'm fine. Out here, I would expect rough starting, bad idle, etc. So we're going to do this test again. So realizing I have this amount of leak down here, I want to start understanding where that leak's happening. In this kit, you actually get some examples. Crankcase breather, go check. Worn cylinder walls or rings. Exhaust system, exhaust valve, air escape and carburetor, intake valve, radiator. We don't have a radiator on this one, this is air cooled. So we're going to go listen to understand if we hear air in any of these areas. I hear air hissing all around here, around the timing chain, which would be coming from the bottom of the case. This is effectively the same as if I had the breather hose open. We're still at that 40. There's still some leak. I don't hear anything around the valve. I don't hear anything at the exhaust. I put the cover on to kind of narrow our test in here. We got a leak right there. But we are losing the air. Everywhere that I hear it is coming off the bottom of the motor. And the only reason it can come off the bottom of the motor is it's making it past the piston, past the rings. When I had the cover off, we could hear it all escaping here. Let me put this cover on. See if we start forcing it out this breather hose. We'll do this check just to be thorough. Pull my filter out. I don't hear anything escaping around the intake. All the way along here, I don't hear anything escaping. Now also, we know we're at top dead center because we have the play. And this valve has got play in it, so again, we know we're at top dead center. If we were on the overlap stroke, both of these valves would be slightly open. We'd be hearing the air hissing out around them. So clearly we have a leakage issue. At the very least, it's showing 13%. Where I'm getting the lion's share of any leakage anywhere I hear it is coming out of the bottom part of the motor. That's pointing me to piston and rings, or cylinder sleeve. just cylinder wear, piston wear, ring wear. Any of that is letting air escape, and to the extent that I'm not able to get the machine to fire. So that implies we got to take the jug off. So to do that, we'll take the carburetor off, we'll take the exhaust off. Not too bad. 1 bolt, 2 bolts, probably take the shield off with each of these. It's loose there. Might not even have to do this. 2 10mm bolts up at the head there. We've got to take the engine stabilizer off here. These 3 12mm with the 12mm nuts on the other side. And then we'll take out 4 head bolts. At that point, we should be able to... At that point, we're either going to be able to take the whole head off, jug included, or we're going to have to take the top half of this off first and then take the jug off. You know, I kind of want to time myself. See how quickly I can take a cylinder off this thing. Starting now. All right, let's see how this goes. I'll set this where I won't step on it. All right, time to bring the camera in nice and close here. You know what? I want to know where I set my phone. How fast do we do that? 18 minutes, 19 minutes. Not too bad. So 20 minutes later, we came down this road on the hunch that air was leaking around the piston and rings down into the bottom of the case, and then ultimately coming up through paths of least resistance up here around the timing chain, crankcase breather, all the way out here. Now, looking at this piston, nice close inspection, I see some striation, a little bit. Here's one gap in the ring, or rings. Here's the other gap. These gaps should be 180 degrees off, so this isn't great. While they're not quite aligned, they're pretty close. Now, the other thing I'm noticing with these rings is these rings sit, and they can make it inside the cylinder when it's all the way pressed. See that? They're so worn that they're just inside flush. It's a little difficult to see, but if you look right at the gap there, you can see. So looking at this piston head, I see vertical striation. Now, if these rings were lined up like so, that would be very bad because you'd have all that leakage right around there. That's why you spin these all the way 180 degrees. When I look at this, I do believe that, like the leak down test was telling us, we have a worn piston. Well, we certainly have worn rings. We have a slightly worn piston. I mean, some rubbing on the walls is normal, but this looks pretty worn. Here's our cylinder. Feels fine to me, in the sense that I'm not feeling burrs, I'm not seeing vertical scratches. It implies that it's possible we could just get away with doing rings, but I don't have a good way to measure what size ring to go in. If this has worn, an OEM ring wouldn't work, and this is 1989, so high 20s year old, what, 2021? Down here, so I believe that the jug itself is in fine condition, but I'm expecting that it is worn. So typically this would all come in a kit. If I had a great way to measure for rings, maybe I could do just a piston and rings, but I'm going to get a whole kit, drop this on an OEM kit. This is a 350cc. We can find this. Looking at the top here, and we weren't hearing leaks. Now this gasket is important because if this gasket wasn't sealing, the air would be coming right out the side and up. So when we go back together, we got to pay nice, good attention that we don't have a head gasket leak. But this all feels fine. We're going to reuse this head, and these valves all appear, you know, that they're seating fine now. We had that stuck valve before, but all good. And these gaskets can only go on one way to fit out with the oiler holes. See, if I try to put it this way, it won't line up on this side. This gasket can only sit like so, and then gets tightened down with those two big Allens here and your 4 head bolts. All looks good. So we're going to order a jug and new piston, new rings, and then we'll bolt this head back on. So we're just going to set this here for now, and we're going to wait for parts.
Did you think that looks okay?
That looks great.
Am I doing it okay?
Yeah,
so.
just kind of quick puffs.
Yeah, my lungs are saying. No, I like my method.
All right.
No, I like my method.
All right. Boy, I'm downwind. Be a good color. It's very G.I. Joe. We couldn't get the forest green textured for whatever reason. It was sold out everywhere, online, in stores. So this was the closest matching.
Green.
What we look at? Deep green?
Forest green. We couldn't find textured light green.
No, it wasn't a light green. I thought it was a deep. Okay, whatever it was, we couldn't find it. What we believed the matching color was, not quite olive drab, but we couldn't find. Yeah, there's just a downwind cloud of paint.
We should probably move Chloe. She's like over there getting high.
Enjoying the snow, Chloe? So this was a birthday gift. We're going to look to tune it up and get some bees in it this year. One of the supers is a little beat on the corners. The corners are chipped up so you can't keep the bees in. Down below and up here. But we have, what, 3 pounds of bees and a queen coming in a couple of weeks. So we'll see if we can get a colony going.
You said very G.I. Joe?
It's a very G.I. Joe, like the 1980s toy. Always had like this color green.
Really?
What is this green called?
Forest green.
Forest green. So this is textured forest green. It's not bad. I like it. But it's definitely going to clean it up so it doesn't come all like chipped. kind of looking, because there was a wear pattern from the key was hanging on a lanyard somewhere on this side, so it was all worn out. Nice and clean.
And then you put the logos back on?
Yep, put the emblems back on. And there's some rubber grommets that go back on around the high-low shifter. And I can't remember what this rubber grommet was for, but there was a rubber grommet there. But
on the red one?
On the red one. Yeah, I can never call it the right color. That is the red one.
Because it has a red seat. It makes perfect sense to me.
All right, here's the debate. So that one is called the red one. It is 90% black with a red seat. And I always call it the black one or call something wrong. And I call it that because, all right, get a shot of that one. All that black, one red seat.
Yeah.
Now come look at the blaster. Okay, fair. So the blaster's got a red frame and red grips, but the rest is black. So
but it's mostly, when you look at it, you think black. You don't think red.
So what do you call this one?
The black one.
This is the black one.
Or the blaster.
The blaster, okay.
But if I were to go, like, decide, go get the whatever one, I would say that's the red one, because when you look at it, you see a red seat.
How about we call it by the motor size? Let's call it the 225, because we don't have anything else in that size.
So what? What is my blue one?
The blue one. But it's all blue, and the yellow one is all yellow.
But what is the what number is it?
It's all blue with a black seat. That is all black with a red seat.
Is it? If we're gonna use it by numbers, what number is my blue one?
It just wouldn't fit, because that one would be a 200.
Exactly.
And then this is a 200, and the yellow one's a 200. But that one's all blue with a black seat.
See?
The yellow one is
But
all yellow with a black
if you
seat.
go with the seat.
This is the blaster.
That's the black one.
This is the blaster.
Black one.
That's the black one.
That's the red one. My blue one is the blue one. The yellow one is the yellow one.
What are you going to call Josh's?
The green one.
Okay, the green one. Because it's mostly green with a black seat.
Yes.
You see my dilemma.
So basically, if you want to change that to the black one, then you need to order a black seat for it. Then it will be all black, and then you can put the red seat on the blaster.
If that's all black, I'm calling it the Batmobile. Chloe, you digging a hole, pupper? Oh, you're gonna be muddy. There we go. Set the bead, nice and easy. When I do that though, I do like to take the valve stem out. I pull the valve stem out so the pressure can come out when it's burning from inside. So I'll put that back in, put some pressure on, and if it holds, we're riding again.